Welcome to the Conversations with Influencers podcast. I'm Richard Lowe, your host, and I'm with the Writing King. I'm a ghostwriter, and I provide book, blog, case study, and white paper services for businesses and individuals. And I'm here with Bridgett Battles, and she's going to tell us her story, and then we're going to have a conversation. Bridgett, what's going on with you?
Hello, hello, my new friend. I'm so excited to be here with you. And to everyone listening, my name is Bridgett Battles, and I'm an author of the book called Beauty in Her Battle. And I also have my own online business called the BB Experience. So I'm looking forward to today's conversation, sharing a little bit about me, inviting you into my world, and just having a good conversation today.
Very good, and that's the plan. We're going to have a great conversation. We're going to learn a little bit about each other and have some fun. So, how did you get started in that business?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I like to call it like a beautiful disaster because I didn't start out saying that I wanted to be a business owner. So I'm originally from High Point, North Carolina. I moved to the Philadelphia area about 20 years ago. And so I didn't, and I still don't have any family here. It was just all career based and, figuring out what I wanted life to look like coming from a small city. And because I did not know a lot of people, I've always loved fashion and a conversation. So what I started to do was to start selling jewelry online and start sharing my fashion advice and just creating my own little network and community. And
Right.
what started out as something as a pastime eventually, moved into a hobby. So fast forward 14 years later, and we're loving every minute of it.
I understand. Yeah, that's kind of the way it was with my business. I left the corporate world and decided I was going to start on my own, and then kind of ran into a ghostwriter and became a ghostwriter. And
I
it
love it.
turned out to be a lot of fun. You told me that you've written a book. What was that about?
Yes. So my book is called Beauty in Her Battle, and it's a 30-day style guide.
Okay.
And so I didn't set out to write a book either. So it's more along the lines of, fashion and business have always been two of my favorite things to talk about. And so a publisher reached out to me after seeing my content and asked me would I consider writing a book. And I was like, I don't know. And so when she assured me, she was like, oh, it'll be easy and it won't be painful. And I said, well, how about this? Content that I've written that I share every day. Let's use my content, turn it into a 30-day style guide, an easy read that people can use and make it interactive. And then that's what I did. And it just really helped shape my business, shape the brand, conversation, and it started to really introduce me to different people. So it's called Beauty in the Battle. It's a 30-day style guide, and it is one of those easy reads, and it's interactive. I'm your commander in style and in fashion, and I help you look and show up as your best and authentic self.
I see. Well, I could probably use some style advice myself. But yeah, well, you've just proven that the power of a book, that's what I talk to everybody about, is a book is powerful and it'll build your brand and give you an end to conversations and speeches and things. You said you just got off a speech recently or a talk recently?
Yeah, so today I did a luncheon for my local Chamber of Commerce, Delaware County Chamber of Commerce. And so I talked a lot. A lot of my business, my brand, my content is around, your confidence, owning your space and your executive presence. So today's keynote was around strategizing for your executive presence. So, Rob, one of the things that I love is that, when you connect with people, really finding the value in the conversation, not immediately trying to sell stuff to people. And so I was really demonstrating that when you create your executive presence, you're demonstrating your value.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that I want to hone in on. And I give people, three different tools, my framework that I've created that has proven to be successful over and over again. One of my clients, her bottom line increased by 30% by following my framework. Another client, 20%. And I talk about the way that you look, it's tied to your finances,
Right.
especially when you have a brand and you package and position yourself correctly.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Is your book available on Amazon or
My book is available on Amazon and it's also available on my website, www.thebbexperience.com.
and how do you spell that? www
B,
dot.
WTHEBB, as in my name, Bridgett
Maybe.
Battles, BBExperience.com.
Okay, good, good. So go visit that, buy her book.
Yes.
Yes. Actually, I'm kind of curious. How do you get on a Chamber of Commerce to do speeches like that? Is that pretty difficult?
So what has been happening to me lately has been the fact that so LinkedIn is like my favorite place to hang out because you consume information, you're able to share articles and resources and content. So I've been getting a lot of my speaking engagements through LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And I've shared the past month or so, like I've been to Texas twice. I keynoted for the Women Grocers of America and another one for the Women of Apex. And so I started to share that content around me traveling and speaking and excerpts. And then, my audience has now seen me do the things that I'm telling you that I do. And they've
Hmm.
got a chance to experience it online. And now they want to experience it in person. So that has been really helpful for me.
So they reached out to you, or you reached out to them
They
to
reached
get it?
out to me. Yeah.
Interesting. And that's because of your LinkedIn presence.
Because of my LinkedIn presence. Yes.
Did you target them, members of the council and local groups specifically, or
I
did you
did not.
just random stuff?
So it's not, so I've kind of perfected my messaging so that my message speaks to leadership.
Gotcha.
And so I perfected my message so that I'm talking to leaders, as a whole.
Right.
And then, one of their goals is to really provide resources, for the county itself and being able to share those tools and tactics that I had around leadership. And so here's the thing that I like to focus on. Leadership does not always mean that you are specifically in a certain job title. I
Right.
call my community CEOs because everybody is the chief executive officer of your own life.
Of
So
course.
that calls you into leadership. And so if you want to take this leadership and grow it to whatever it is that you want your life to look like, those are the people in the audience that I target.
I see. I see. And you started doing that from the beginning, or is it something you grew into?
So I grew into it. In the beginning, I thought I was Walmart. I thought I had service for everybody. Yeah, you got listen, I can do this, I can do that. But the more I started like really getting into the business, really refining the brand and understanding where my impact is. And then with the fact that I live this life that I'm displaying on social, I
Right.
really began to like speak into that and perfect that. And it aligned with who I am as my core values. And so that's how it evolved.
I see. I see. Um, Now, have you've done a lot of public speaking?
I have, yes.
I take it the first time, was that scary, or did you enjoy it, or how did you come away from that? The very first time you public spoke, or you always been an extrovert, in other words, or are you kind of introverted and just
First of all, I love the fact that you said I've always been an extrovert because that would be yes. But so I used to public speak in middle school and high school.
okay,
And so it kind of evolved from there. And, I still get nervous every time I speak. Usually the nervousness fades away after I have start having a conversation because I'm in my zone of genius and my element. For me, because it's all about me impacting someone's life because I think about how many times someone has spoken and my life has changed. So that's important to me. So I'm always nervous in the beginning, but the moment I get started, it's over.
that's funny. That's funny. Well, I'm a natural born introvert. I've been an introvert most of my life, um,
Mhm,
but I learned there's two different things. There's introversion, which is you want to work. I like to work by myself and like to be. I'm a little uncomfortable in groups, and then there's shyness, which means
mhm,
you can't talk to people. I decided, okay, introversion's fine, but shyness is a career killer, and
mhm,
it stifles your life. So I took great efforts to become not shy. After my wife passed away, I picked up the camera and just started photographing people, and I'd use the camera to talk to people. So I'd come up to, can I photograph you? And I'd be talking to the camera while I'm talking to you. And after about 1,200 photo shoots and stuff, I would finally broke the shyness. It took a long time because it was really hard. Now I can talk to anybody. I'll go up to a
mhm,
gang member with weapons. I don't care. I'll go talk to him. Hey, that knife looks pretty
mhm,
big. What'd you use? What's it? Why do you need that? And
mhm.
they're amused with me. Um,
I love that. I love that. The
Yeah.
conversation through the camera. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I finally didn't need the camera anymore. I like, as we can see here, I can become a blabbermouth really fast. But
Mhm.
getting to stage is where I'm nervous. Like you said, you're nervous. That part there is like butterflies, go away.
Mhm.
And but once I'm there, I just take control and I'm having fun and then I get off stage and I think, oh my God, what did I just do? It's
Yeah,
fun
I
though.
get it. Yeah, I get
Getting
it.
it was out of my safe
Mhm.
space. It was fun.
Mhm.
It was fun.
Mhm. Yeah, I get
Um,
it.
yeah, my safe space is more sitting behind a keyboard and writing.
Mhm.
And I'm not a natural born speaker. I'm not an extrovert. And I know that I could tell you are, 'cause
Mhm.
you're like the person at the party.
Yeah, and but you know what? I have to. So this is what I've been working on too. So it's funny you should say that. So I've been working on that, making sure that my writing speaks to the person that I am. Because I think
Right.
sometimes it's harder for me to translate it in writing. And then when you meet me, you're like, why didn't you know this? You know?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand. I
yeah,
understand. Yeah, that's very good. You want to come across with authenticity in your writing while still
yeah,
being true to your audience.
yeah,
Because if you write in such a way that you don't have an audience, why are you writing? Obviously, you found
right.
an audience. I'm not,
Mhm.
you haven't told me what that audience is, um, but I'm sure it's p business people who want to be leaders and want to dress the part, maybe something like that. Just
Yeah.
you tell me what your audience is.
So my audience is entrepreneurs who are making noise in a market space, but they have a brand disconnect.
Right.
So what happens is they show up and they provide the transformation, but then when you look at them, they don't look like the transformation.
I
So
see.
that's one area. And then the second area is that those who are in the sweet C suite and those who are on their way to the C suite. Those are my two areas that I focus in on. And then here lately, as an entry point, because understanding that I have to have a component of education, because now, given the fact of, you know, we've in this digital world now, that there are still things you don't know what you don't know. And so there has to be some sort of education and conversation around executive presence. So even if you're not ready or fit in those two capacities, I'm giving you an entryway into understanding what it is until you get to those levels.
I see. I see. And your book reinforces all of this.
My book reinforces all of this. And then tonight, I'm kicking off my first monthly series where I'm doing a 1 hour teaching on a free webinar on mastering your executive presence.
So is this a once a month thing?
It's once a month. Tonight is my first night doing it. Yes.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So I found that getting out there and marketing, first of all, is very different from sales. Sales and
Mhm.
marketing are not the same thing. And it's interesting to find the brand that fits and then to make sure that all your content matches that brand. I stumble
Mhm.
around. I mean, I'm a computer guy. I've done digital transformation. I've done cybersecurity. I've written. I've done all these different things. I was a geologist, a photographer. I could put myself out there, and I did initially. Like I could do all this stuff, just like you said. That doesn't work. It did draw in some business, but people don't really like to hire the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
They want to hire somebody who's like, okay, you're the ghostwriter,
Mhm.
and boom, you're going to write me something. And now, once I figured that out, it was relatively easy to come up with the brand.
Mhm.
But you have to be pinpoint. And it sounds to me like you're very pinpoint about what you are and what you give and what people get from what your services and so forth. Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. And so I just want to elaborate on something that you said. Whenever you narrow down who your audience is, then you're really able to measure your success or your impact. When I thought I was Walmart for a moment, like I was just could like service anybody that come, I became frustrated with myself because
Right.
what happens is you spend a lot of time trying to customize things to fit people who are not specifically your targeted audience or who
Right.
can't benefit what you have. And so, because you have a target audience, and I want to say to anybody that's listening to this conversation, You have to be crystal clear on what it is you want to do and who you are, because a confused buyer doesn't buy. And I had to learn that the hard way. And so making sure that you're specific in your messaging, specific in your conversation, and consistent. Like, you can't be great today and depressed tomorrow. Like, you gotta figure it out.
I
You
understand.
give all of this information out. People want consistency.
Yeah, yeah. You can be depressed in the comfort of your own home, but when you're in public, you need to have that same general feel, is what I'm understanding. Um, keep your non-branded emotions to yourself, is the way I think I'd put it. Uh,
Yeah.
although you do
You
want
have
to
to be
come,
careful with that, though. You have to be careful with that. And I'm gonna add one other thing. So one of the things that I strongly believe in, and that is, whenever you are in the phase of building a brand and getting it solely established, you have to be careful how much of your personal life that you share. Because anything that you put on social, you're inviting someone else's opinion.
right?
And so you want to be careful with that. You want people to know they can trust you, not that you are just all over the place and that you're sharing so much of your life. Then you get feedback or they asking you questions and you're offended now because somebody's asking you something, but you shared it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. As I've seen from people who put out TikToks with their deep personal stuff that I would never even dream of putting out there, and they get thousands and thousands and thousands of negative comments. It's like, well, you
Yeah.
put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not everybody's a friend, you know. I mean, you just got to learn that. And some people have opinions, and there's this effect where people who are on the internet are disconnected from you, and they don't actually view you as a person when you're on the screen. They view you as something on the screen, like a video game. So of course they can rip you to shreds. They can tell you whatever they want because you're not there. You're not going to punch them, you know, or they're not going to punch you, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's important to share what you want to share. I used to do social media cleansings where somebody would hire me and I'd go in and go through their social media and clean it up because they'd have
Mhm.
all kinds of garbage out there. You know, a CEO having drunken photos there from high school and college.
Yeah, like,
Clean that stuff up, and that's what I used to do for a little while. Um, it was hard to make a living at that, so I stopped doing it because people don't really understand the reason. It's hard to sell, but
mhm.
boy, did they need it. Like, why do you have these pictures out here? Take them
Yeah.
down. Clean up your Facebook, clean up your TikTok, clean up all this stuff. Well, don't even use TikTok, but you know, I don't like TikTok. Clean stuff up.
Mhm.
Um, and
Yeah.
you won't get that negative repercussion as much. Of course, you know, on the internet, things generally don't really die. So
Mhm.
if you put something out there, it's going to be somewhere forever, most likely.
Absolutely.
But well, unless
Absolutely.
yeah,
Mhm.
the Wayback Machine, if anything else, is going to have a copy of a lot of your stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, but you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
you can at least take it off your own sites, your own
Yeah.
stuff. Um, so is what I'm seeing now your brand of how you want people to perceive you? Is that like a branded look, an example?
It's one of them. One
It's
of
one of
them.
them.
So CEO Lady is my t-shirt line. And
Okay.
of course, this is my jacket. And yeah, so it's part of it. You know, I like to wear a lot of my own things outside of, when I'm dressed up, I like to wear a lot of my own things. Um, because number one, it starts a conversation. Number two, I want to always be consistent in who I am. So a funny thing, and that is especially to your audience, I hope they enjoy this. So I was dating a particular guy, a couple years ago, whatever. And he was hanging out, having a great time or whatever. He friends me on social media, and I declined all his requests. Okay. So it's like, he's up with that. I said, number one, my personal life is not for social media. Okay. So anybody that I or hang out with, we're connecting here. Okay. It's totally separate. I use my social media for my audience. They get behind the scenes of the business and the branding, and they get a chance to see me as a person, but not my personal life. And so I said all that to say, so the person you see in person matches the person that you see online. in person, I don't just walk up to people just giving out all my personal business. So I'm not
No,
online.
right.
Yeah,
That
needless to say, I didn't date him longer. Yeah, not for me. No.
there has become this culture where people just put whatever's on their mind at the moment, however bad
Mm-mm.
it is, or good it is, or whatever out there on the internet. And I just look at it and go, that just doesn't work.
It doesn't.
I mean, it may seem to work and you may make a few bucks from likes and stuff or whatever they do on TikTok, however you make money or YouTube's, but it's not going to work for the long term because like when you go employed, they're going to look at it. You go to an employer, uh, your social media is going to be looked at. Um, Now I'm going to get a little dangerous here, so don't mind me, but I'm looking at what you're putting out. And
Yep.
what I'm seeing as a consumer, as a person who's looking, is a very
Mm-hmm.
sophisticated person who
Mm-hmm.
knows what she's doing, who's
Mm-hmm.
very confident. I like the way the hair is because it leaves your face open so that I can you come across as genuine. Um, and somebody that I'd probably want to do business with if I
Thank you.
needed your stuff. And you smile a lot, which is something that I think is important. I Frowny people, sometimes people frown, but if you're always frowning, I'm probably not going to do business with you. And you're definitely not a
Mm.
frowner.
Not at all. No.
So
No.
that's what I'm and your eyes are bright and they're staring at the camera or staring at me. And if we were in a conversation, you'd be looking at me, I think. And I think you've nailed it. If that
Thank
all
you.
that's correct, that's what you nailed.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, one of the things, so I am a big proponent of self-help. I'm a big proponent of doing your internal work. And so every year I have a theme that I focus on. And so this year my theme was very simple. And that is this. When people ask me how I'm doing and I say I'm good, like I really want to mean it. Because a lot of times we ask people how they're doing, like, oh, I'm fine, and they really aren't. And so
Right.
I've taken the time to really do my internal work. No, every day is not perfect. No, I don't get everything right the first go around, but I've taken the time to do my internal work as a person.
Right.
And those are things that matter to me. Being your authentic self, but doing right by people. Because I just believe that you have to treat everybody right. You have to treat people right.
Or at least as right as you can.
Yeah, it's right.
Because
Yeah, absolutely.
we're
Yeah,
all human
absolutely.
beings. We all make mistakes. We screw up once in a
Yeah,
while. I mean, except for me, of course.
absolutely.
Because
You're exempt, okay? You're exempt. You're the 1% that's exempt, okay? You
right,
know,
right. No, no, no. I'm
yeah.
the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. No, all kidding aside, of course not. Um, yeah, that's something that I've learned as I've gotten older is I'm not perfect and I don't need to be perfect. And being perfect is actually a stupid goal
Yeah,
because I'm a human being. And
yeah,
I think sometimes part of the brand is coming across a little bit vulnerable
yeah,
because and let that vulnerability out because people don't like dealing with statues.
yeah, absolutely.
And I definitely don't get the impression you're a statue. I think you're very animated, and that's very as
Yeah,
a consumer looking at you as a business person, that would be very attractive to me doing business with you if I needed your
mhm,
services because
yeah.
you're not a statue.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find that, to the vulnerability. And so I'll share this. This is on a personal note, but I'll share this because this is been part of my messaging and things that I share with my audience is this. So, a few years ago, sorry, been about between 6 and 8 years ago. So my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Okay.
And he was stage 4 cancer. And then I was married for 20 years. So my dad died, and I was going through a divorce, writing a book, and building a business all at the same time.
Wow, that's a lot.
So I was grieving two deaths at one time, the death of my father and the death of my marriage.
Right. I understand
And,
totally.
and so what I've learned through that process, which is why I said I'm big on doing your internal work. What I learned through that process is yes, life does happen, but you can't stop living. And in order for you to keep living, you've got to do your internal work. Doesn't mean you're perfect, don't mean you get everything right. No, your feelings are valid and who you are is important. But I know I have to show up for me and I got to show up for the people that I serve. And so with that being said, I that's why I put in that work to be the best version of myself, to show up as my authentic self, and to always be relatable, because you never know what somebody else is experiencing. And no, I may not have the answers to what they're experiencing, but being present is what we can do.
Right. Right to a limit, because there's some people,
Yeah,
I mean, I had people in my life who were what I call psychic vampires.
yeah,
And those are people who leech off your emotions and make you want to be sad. Got to get rid of
hmm,
those toxic people. You got to
yeah,
get rid of those. Get them out of your life, because they'll just
yeah,
keep taking and taking and taking and taking and taking until you're sitting there crying on the ground. They're happy because that's what they
hmm,
did. Um, but most people aren't like that, fortunately.
yeah,
Yeah, I found the same thing when the wife passed away. I was in grief and I had to go. I started photographing and
hmm,
hiking and going out and meeting people, because I felt I could sit at home and I can die from grief and
hmm,
curl up into a ball, or I could go out and talk to people and
hmm.
photograph and have some fun and go to the Grand Canyon and be goofy. And I got goofy. And yeah, I learned to just let it out. It was fun at Renaissance fairs
Yeah,
and things, and you just let it out. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. Well, we're coming up on the top of the half hour. Is there anything you want to close with to your audience?
Sure. So number one, I want to say thank you for allowing me on your platform for the conversation. I love connecting with new people and exchanging stories. So I find it very valuable. So I say thank you. And the
Welcome.
second thing is, to those that are listening to us, I would love to be connected to you. So feel free to connect with me on all forms of social. Everything is under my name, Bridgett Battles. And if there's anything that I've said or, Rich has said today, and that is, I want you to show up as the best version of yourself, your authentic self, and be okay with you, and show up and create the life that you love.
I think that's the most important thing is we're all going to the same place in this journey, but the question is, do we enjoy it or not?
Yeah.
And you make that choice. And
Yeah.
every single minute of every day, you make the choice, and why not enjoy it?
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
thank you for coming to the Conversation with Influencers podcast. Appreciate you, and I appreciate all the viewers who are watching and or will be watching this in the future, I guess. I am the writing king, Richard Lowe. I'm a ghostwriter, and my mission is to write books for people who want to basically change their lives. They want to pivot their career. They want to make themselves branded, so this becomes a base for their brand, as has yours. You're a perfect example of that. Um, and blogs and white papers and things like that. So if you need that kind of service, you can just find my website at thewritingking.com. And you've already said where you can find yours. Also, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I primarily reside. I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great place for professionals. And that's a wrap. Thank you.